ceasefire, but no slowdown. Israel's defense chief issues a blunt warning. Naim Qassem will pay with his head. Hezbollah in the crosshairs as Israel warns operations will continue. Disarm or face destruction. Because for Israel, this war isn't paused, it's still in motion. The Israeli defense minister used the country's most solemn occasion to deliver one of his sharpest warnings yet, telling Hezbollah chief Naim Qassem he would pay with his head. Speaking at the state memorial ceremony at Mount Herzl in Jerusalem on April 21st, Israel Katz said military operations in southern Lebanon would continue at full force, ceasefire or not, and that the Israeli army had been ordered to destroy any structure posing a threat to its forces.
Hezbollah Secretary General Hassan Nasrallah destroyed the Shiite community in Lebanon, and Naim Qassem will do the same and will pay, as did his predecessors. He would ultimately pay with his head like all the other leaders of the axis of evil.
Katz also warned that the Lebanese government would also face continued military operations if it failed to meet its obligations under the ceasefire terms. And those obligations, according to Katz's own words, are for thousands of Lebanese to vacate their own homes and leave.
Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and I have instructed the IDF to operate with full force on land and from the air, even during the ceasefire, to protect our soldiers in Lebanon from any threat. Any structure that threatens our forces and any route suspected of containing explosives must be destroyed immediately. This is the goal of Operation Silver Plough in Lebanon, to remove the houses in the adjacent contact villages, near the border that served as Hezbollah terrorist outposts in every respect, and threatened Israeli communities and IDF soldiers. These houses will not remain there.
The remarks came during a 10-day ceasefire between Israel and Lebanon that came into force on April 17th, brokered by US President Donald Trump following direct talks between Lebanese and Israeli officials in Washington, the first such negotiations in decades. The Israeli army holds a security zone extending up to 10 kilometers inside southern Lebanon, from the Mediterranean coast to the foothills of Mount Hermon. Katz said the zone and the broader area stretching to the Litani River must be cleared entirely of Hezbollah fighters and weapons. Lebanon's health ministry put the death toll from the war, which began on March the 2nd, at 2,587 as of April 21st, with more than 7,500 wounded. The ceremonies at Mount Herzl marked Israel's Memorial Day, which opened the previous evening with a nationwide siren in honor of 25,648 fallen soldiers. Washington called it diplomacy. Tehran, on the other hand, calls it an ultimatum. As the world absorbed the news of a ceasefire between Israel and Lebanon, a senior Iranian military source has claimed that Iran had come repeatedly close to resuming military operations during the weeks of negotiations, with missile launch platforms prepared and ready to fire. According to the source, Iran stood down on multiple occasions after receiving promises about the timing of a ceasefire in Lebanon, promises that were subsequently broken.
The enemy, as usual, broke its commitments and continued its aggression against Lebanon. With much follow-up and pressure from Iran, a ceasefire in Lebanon is approved as of tonight.
The source said it was only after Iran set a final deadline on the night of April 16th that movement towards a truce became real. In Tehran's telling, it was not American pressure on Hezbollah, but Iranian military pressure on Washington that forced Israeli compliance. That account sits squarely at odds with how US President Trump presented the ceasefire, crediting US diplomacy for getting the sides to agree. Iranian Parliament Speaker Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf reinforced Tehran's position in a phone call with Lebanese Parliament Speaker Nabi Berri, telling him that a ceasefire in Lebanon mattered to Iran as much as the one on Iranian soil. The Iranian embassy in Beirut had said as much the day before, describing Lebanon as, in its words, the soul of Iran. Ghalibaf also posted on X, linking the truce to what he called the unity of the axis of resistance.
As I said last night as well, the ceasefire was nothing but a result of Hezbollah's steadfastness and the unity of the axis of resistance. And we will deal with this ceasefire with caution, and we will remain together until the full realization of victory. I thank the mediating efforts of the State of Pakistan and General Asim Munir for endorsing this ceasefire. We are true to our pledge.
Iran had been operating under a ceasefire for all or none position, tying any de-escalation in Lebanon to broader regional guarantees, with the Strait of Hormuz at the center of those conditions. Tehran also warned Washington it would be held responsible if Netanyahu moved to undermine any agreement. The guns have stopped for now. Who actually stopped them remains contested. The Israel Defense Forces says it carried out a rapid, high-intensity strike on alleged Hezbollah infrastructure in southern Lebanon, targeting dozens of sites within seconds. Footage released by the military shows multiple buildings in the Nata neighborhood engulfed in flames before collapsing, as airstrikes hit what Israel described as operational infrastructure. According to the IDF, around 70 targets were struck in just 1 minute during the operation, with weapons also seized. However, local media and Lebanese sources reported that the strikes impacted residential areas near Bint Jbeil Governmental Hospital, raising concerns about civilian safety. Separately, the national news agency reported that Israeli airstrikes destroyed the Kazmieh Bridge over the Litani River, described as the last link between southern Lebanon and the rest of the country.
Enemy aircraft carried out 2 consecutive strikes on the Kazmieh Bridge, the last bridge between the Tyre and Sidon regions, completely destroying it.
Lebanese officials told Reuters the strike shattered the bridge, leaving no possibility of repair and further isolating the south. Lebanon's health ministry, cited by Arabic media, reported at least 11 fatalities, including women and children, along with multiple injuries from recent strikes. The escalation comes despite a fragile ceasefire framework involving the US, Israel, and Iran, though its applicability to Lebanon remains disputed. Diplomatic efforts continue in parallel. Donald Trump announced potential direct talks between Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Lebanese President Joseph Aoun.
Trying to get a little breathing room between Israel and Lebanon. It has been a long time since the two leaders have spoken, like 34 years. It will happen tomorrow. Nice.
While Trump did not explicitly name the two participants in the slated conversation, it is assumed that he was referring to Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Aoun. Security Cabinet member and Innovation, Science and Technology Minister Gila Gamliel told Army Radio on Thursday morning that Netanyahu and Aoun will hold direct talks. But Lebanese officials, cited by Agence France Presse and Reuters, said they had no knowledge of such talks, highlighting ongoing diplomatic uncertainty. According to Press TV, Aoun has told US Secretary of State Marco Rubio that he would not be speaking with Netanyahu. With high-intensity strikes, collapsing infrastructure, and uncertain diplomacy unfolding simultaneously, the Lebanon front is entering a volatile phase, where escalation on the ground may outpace efforts to contain it at the negotiating table.